Hi, welcome to the part 2 of the cloud computing tutorial series. This is your host Yogesh Yanani. We'll continue back from where we left off. So, businesses have been doing it themselves when it comes to building networks which are required to serve data to their users or to offer services online. So if it was a bank, the bank ends up creating data centers where they house their servers. They have people who maintain their PCs, they have people who maintain the networks. Then they finally have real estate on which they build these data centers. So there is a lot of costs which they end up spending. They also end up doing the software development where they probably do the entire prototyping or they offload some parts to someone, but essentially there's a lot of work which gets done in-house. Now when we are looking at this is a huge amount of costs, and let's see what kind of costs which are there. So one of the most obvious costs is the power cost, which the IT equipment consumes, the air conditioning consumes, the heating consumes. Okay, it takes up space. So the real estate costs, just imagine if this was hosted in a New York or in a Mumbai, then it would be very expensive to do. So when you have different kind of devices, so when you have networks, you need network engineers. When you have servers, you have server experts. When you have operating system, you have operating system experts. When you have applications, you need application experts, and so on. And today we are, of course, in the virtualization age, so you need the virtualization experts as well. Again, business needs are not constant, they keep on changing. So the time any changes come up, it's also time to upgrade. You realize what you bought probably a year ago is not enough, and you need to upgrade to run your applications better, to give more power to your users, etc. The life cycle of IT could be between 1 to 3 years presently for organizations who are heavily utilizing IT, and probably 3 to 5 years for others. Of course, all this requires a hidden component, which is the time, which itself translates into the money lost. So if we refocus on what organizations really bother about, the organizations are really bothered about their core expertise. So if a pharma company, they are really bothered about selling drugs. A real estate company is bothered about selling homes and offices or malls. A finance company is bothered about selling insurance, loans, deposits to their customers, and hence their focus is on to reduce cost to keep their bottom line healthy. So that is the real focus. Reduce cost, reduce cost, reduce cost. Of course, staying ahead of competition goes without saying, and being lean, so doing more with less and automate in a number of processes as possible. Well, by now you must be wondering, okay, I was thinking about cloud computing and we are talking about business, so what's happening? So let's look at what really is the cloud. Well, it started all with the grid computing. Electricity, which was the original grid, which allowed the power producers to share electricity amongst themselves to either as a mutual benefit or maybe monetary benefit. Taking this idea forward, they came out with grid computing, which allowed people to share the power of many devices which are connected to the internet. So internet essentially is the original computing grid, also referred to as the mother of all networks, and as a cloud. Now, why cloud? Well, just I would really not know why the word cloud came up, but while I was at Cisco, we used to actually depict networks without having components, without showing all the components in between. So without you looking at whether it was a router or a switch or a firewall, etc., we would tell you that, okay, this is the internet and this is the cloud. So we wouldn't show the internal components. And that's where the word cloud really originated. So that's my belief. Now, the internet is a shared network. It's like a public transport which can be used by all. So it's free for all to connect. Everybody can connect to it. There's no single company which owns the internet. It's a collection of service providers, the internet service providers who talk to each other and share data or traffic between each other. That's how the internet runs. The World Wide Web is the most popular application of the internet, and most often people confuse the internet with www. So if you're seeing what's there on the internet or just browsing, then probably you're using www. Now, the website, the way it is made and it's completely graphical, it makes it easier for anyone to use it. So, if you want to chat, email, search, you can do it on all one browser. So, the browser is only one application to learn, one interface to learn. Private networks, which allow customers to connect to them and allow sharing the information using VPNs, are also referred to as a cloud. But we can also refer to them as a private cloud since it is only to be shared between some companies and it's not publicly available. The internet is accessible by everyone and hence it is also called as a public cloud. So now let's look at what exactly is cloud computing all about. So cloud computing essentially breaks up the data center. So the data center goes to the backside. So you have tons of servers out there. They are hosting tons of applications and you could subscribe to one of those applications. Now in this example, what I'm trying to show is the Salesforce.com application, which was one of the most popular applications for cloud. And by far, I would say it's one of the most successful even today. So what a company can do is they can go to salesforce.com and say, okay, we would like to purchase your service for automating our sales team's software. So without me developing the software for my sales team and refining it on an ongoing basis, I would go to salesforce.com and buy it. Now what salesforce.com would do is they would essentially say, okay, these many licenses are available to you or these many users can come and connect to us and this is my meter. So as soon as you start, here is my meter which keeps on ticking. The more you use it, the more the bill. So people can pay as you grow. Now the beauty of this was that you did not need the PC browser. You could even do it over your mobile. Now the mobile could also have an application which was formatted for the mobile screen. So essentially cloud computing is extracting the servers completely away from the end client. So from an end client perspective, all you need is a browser and the browser is available to you in a netbook today. You do not really need a big laptop or a big PC with a lot of RAM, a lot of disk to access. The basic minimal hard drive and a basic minimal browser is good enough. And you just get connected to the cloud, which is connecting to the salesforce.com or Amazon or any of those sites and you just buy the service. So companies do not have to really bother about how the applications work, etc. They are completely focused on giving the end users the experience and anytime there's a problem, the end user can just put a case onto the service provider directly. So the service provider responds. So there is absolutely no maintenance cost as well. So that's the huge amount of saving which is there for a business. The businesses do not own any IT, but they lease it from the service provider. They pay a rental, which is shown by the taxi meter in between. Thus, businesses can go around and shop for what they want without owning it and paying for only for what they use. Thus, the costs, what we saw earlier, are reduced and businesses can focus on what is their core competence. Before the cloud computing began, there were essentially two options for the businesses to do their IT. Either do it yourself and incur tremendous costs and be tied with IT, which is difficult to change. Now the IT teams even became sizable and getting a new service or application was pretty time consuming. The other option, which was going to the service providers who have been pushing outsourcing or outtasking to the businesses to reduce the costs. Now they sold all these services under the garb of managed services. So businesses wanted to reduce costs and service providers were throwing at them newer services in the applications. Earlier, all these service providers were either called as application service providers or simply data centers or the VPN service providers. They would offer some services and customers would have to go and build their story around them. Now this would incur a lot of work from the from the customer standpoint as to they would have to go pick and choose which service provider and what to do with that particular service provider, how does it interact with their application, etc. Again, billing was pretty challenging those days. Now, the new generation of providers looked at this as an opportunity and they said instead of people coming and hosting or buying, why don't we make them rent it out? So what has cloud computing essentially enabled us to do? The new generation service providers, let's call them cloud service providers, understood the customer challenges and are working on delivering cloud services. Salesforce.com is one company which is often quoted in most of the cloud computing examples. What this company essentially does is it automates the sales organization by helping them uh, consolidate their leads, their reports, etc. at one place, and they are able to partition this for each customer. So if a company like XYZ goes and buys from Salesforce.com, their data is completely separate and isolated, so it's secure from the other company. Now there are predictions which are galore here. So some of them tell us that by 2012 businesses won't own any IT assets. So all they would have is those dumb clients or the netbooks as of today, or simply thin clients which have got very less memory, very less amount of disk. All they have is capability of firing a browser, and the businesses can connect to the cloud provider and run their applications as if they were running it in house. So you could go to say an Amazon EC2 and buy computing power when you need to test your applications if you're a software development organization or a research house, or you could go to Google or Zoho and buy their office applications, which allows you to access them from any device. So this allows you to give your employees an option to work from anywhere. Also, if they face any issues, you could raise a case with a third service provider or maybe even the same cloud provider where even your help desk could be potentially outsourced. Now, the ISPs and VPN service providers have realized the power of cloud computing and have taken the cloud to a more secure level by allowing people to only see the cloud themselves and no third party, or it's not open for all. So this is called as a private cloud. While if you're looking at a cloud service which is available for everybody in the world, then you are essentially looking at the public cloud. Now, cloud some computing sounds pretty nice, but it's not without any challenges. Also, it sounds more like the mainframe era, where you have huge monster servers in the backside, and then you have the dumb terminals. Not really dumb, but at least devices which have very less power at the front end. In our next session, we'll discuss about these. Till that time, have a great time and do leave your feedback to us on info@techpods.com. Thank you for tuning in.